Welcome to the new show, Toward a Solar Civilization, where your host, Naika Gabriel, introduces many experts who will focus on the development of spiritual consciousness, the importance of wisdom, love, and fraternity, and the living knowledge of the laws of nature and the universe. They delve into the profound and transformative ideas of Omraam Mikhaël Aïvanhov that have significantly impacted spiritual thought and provide practical methods to awaken you in a more purposeful, conscious, spiritually aligned way of living. Here is Naika Gabriel, your host.
Is there a language capable of expressing the richest and most complex realities? How can we understand nature and access its secrets? In this episode, you will learn the meaning of geometrical figures, and we will give you the keys to unlocking the secrets of nature in support of our evolution. Hi, I'm Naika, your host. In this ninth episode of Towards a Solar Civilization, Alex will explore many more topics, including accelerating our spiritual evolution with sacred geometry, understanding the importance of the sun using geometrical figures, understanding the relationship between the absolute and the relative, squaring the circle, how sacred geometry is a language capable of expressing the richest and most complex realities, how to improve our lives with sacred geometry, an introduction to the pentagram and its importance, the 5 virtues essential for human development, and bringing the symbols to life, the gymnastic exercises. What a program. I cannot wait to hear the talk. Over to you, Alex.
Thank you, Naika, for the introduction. It is a great pleasure to be here with all of you, introducing this amazing topic about sacred geometry. Why sacred geometry is so important in initiatic teachings? Well, for the following reason. If I ask you, what is the color of your car? What comes to your mind? An image of your car. If I ask you, what is the color of your house, what comes to your mind? An image of your house. So with this explanation, we can become aware that how the mind processes information is through images. And the way we can retain information and learn faster is through images. And we can also understand very complex information with a simple image. So that is one of the advantages of teaching using images, and as we will explore in this program, how some certain symbols in initiatic science transmit very profound information, and how we can apply that information to our lives. And we will start with the presentation, and I will see you there. Thank you. Welcome to this presentation, Sacred Geometry, the symbolic language of geometrical figures. All these teachings are based on the book, The Symbolic Language of Geometrical Figures by Master Omraam Mikhaël Aïvanhov. Figures and symbols are capable of expressing the richest and most complex realities, while at the same time reducing them to the barest essentials. These images are from the book, and Master Omraam explained the profound meaning behind these images and how we can understand how the universe works. Because one of the goals of sacred geometry is to, as we can see here in the quote, how to express the richest and most complex realities through sacred geometry. We are part of nature, and the initiate tries to understand how nature works, to learn the principles and to assimilate these principles and incorporate these principles into his or her life. And sacred geometry is a tool that can help us to accomplish this. And in a very simple way at the same time, that is the beauty of the symbols. We can understand very complex knowledge through symbols and remember them. Because I mentioned in the introduction, it's the mind, and I do not mean the brain, but the mind processes information in a better way through symbols. For example, we can see here the planet Venus, and it has been found that after a certain period of years, the planet Venus, the rotation creates a pentagram, a perfect pentagram. That is the reason the pentagram is a very important geometry for teaching, because it shows how the universe works in patterns. And I want to invite you to ask a question: why we have 5 fingers? Why we do not have 6 or 4 or 7? We have 5. Because we are part of the universe. And the more we aligned to this perfection, the better our life will be. And it's going to be easier to unveil the, quote, mysteries of the universe. If you meditate for a very long time on any given subject, you will find that a symbolic image will begin to take shape in your subconscious or your higher consciousness. Well, for example, if we start to study this image in detail, these are the one of the most important teaching of Master Omraam, the 6 bodies. We can see here that we have the personality, the lower self, the individuality, the higher self. And you can take some time to study this image, how everything is interconnected. We explore this image in detail in session 1. If you want to learn more, go back to session 1, one of the programs. But you can analyze this because, as we have shared, that the mind works through images, so it's easy to understand the complexity of humans. Humans are very complex beings, emotions, thinking, how we are connected to the external environment and how it affects the internal landscape of a human. And by just observing this diagram, we can see the atmic body, the buddhic body, and we can see the relationships. And this is a symbol. This is a kind of sacred geometry that can help us. For example, if you need to take a very important decision in life, how I am affecting the 6 bodies. What is the consequence of my actions? So you can bring this image to your mind quickly. Humans are a mirror of the universe, a microcosm. Sacred geometry helps us to better understand this connection with the macrocosm. And this is one of the main contributions of sacred geometry. We are cosmic beings. Master Omraam talks about cosmic intelligence. How can we understand this cosmic intelligence and how we can improve our lives? How we can access the secrets of nature through sacred geometry, by images, to align into this perfection that is always there, but is waiting to be discovered. And we are part of the universe. Years ago, I was visiting in New York a museum, and there was a documentary, and it was talking that the same chemicals that are in space, hydrogen, nitrogen, are in the bones of a human. Same material. That's a proof. It's in our bones. how the same composition of the stars is in our bodies. So the initiate tries to understand this knowledge because it's going to help you to have a better life, to make better contributions, and to understand how to solve problems in life. That's one of the reasons, for example, abundance, right? Many people look for normally financial abundance. And if you look through nature, you look around, nature is abundance. It's perfect abundance everywhere. And that beauty is there. For example, two flowers are not the same, and the fragrance and the shape is not the same. And one flower or one tree do not take energy from the next one. It doesn't need to. Both of them are unique and they are part of abundance. So how can we learn from those lessons that we do not need to compete with anybody? We can create abundance for our lives in any aspect, not only financial, with relationship, with our family, just looking at nature. That's the secret. It is important for us to study this question of symbols because symbols are the language of the universe. Again, what is this telling me? And that is the reason we all know the hieroglyphics in Egypt. They always draw a lot of attention. People are fascinated with them because they tell us the language of the universe, which is not easy to understand. Many years ago, I was reading a book called The Tao of Physics. And it explains that the reason scientists use formulas to describe reality because they found that language is very limited to explain reality. They said that it's very limited. We cannot explain the universe, how it works, through words alone. That is the reason they use formulas. Einstein, all these, Oppenheimer, they are using formulas to explain the universe because our language is very, very limited. So that is the reason with sacred geometry, we can understand the language of nature. Understanding the importance of the sun using geometrical figures. As you know, based on season 1, in the teaching of Master Omraam, the sun is fundamentally central on his teaching. The importance of the sun. He brought back the practice of incorporating the sun principles into your life. It's a very ancient practice, but it was forgotten. So Master Omraam brought the practice back. And one way to understand the importance of the sun is using geometrical figures. And as we can see here, we have the circle and the dot, the middle. And as we can see here on the right, the sun. I mean, the planets, just understanding the planets help us to align to their perfection. Those who know how to decipher the great book of nature, recognizing the circular movement, the expression of a prodigious process. We saw it at the beginning with the planet Venus, how it is a process and it's a movement that creates perfection. Well, same with the planets, with the sun, how the sun rotates. And it's our duty to decipher this great book, the circular movement. There's a reason why the sun is round. Why it's not in a square? Why it's not a triangle? There's a reason for that. A far-reaching science and a vast body of philosophy is contained in this figure. One of the things that Master Omraam mentioned is about always going back to the center in your life. And that's the reason the dot is in the center. And it's exactly in the center. We always need to keep the center in mind in any aspect of our lives, at work, with family, taking very important decisions. Never lose the center. And that's a common quote. Don't lose the center. Go back to the center of your life. And that's what this is telling us. The circle symbolizes the universe, and the dot in its center represents the supreme being who sustains and animates it. What we see when we look at this at the sky, we know there's an order, perfection, and what is behind Master Omraam in his teaching called that cosmic intelligence, because it is an intelligence. It's alive, it's vibrant. And one of the benefits of this practice of sacred geometry it helps us to understand this cosmic intelligence. And when we get away from the slavery of technology, which technology is okay, but human beings are getting enslaved. They are looking down to the cell phone constantly, most of the time. But if we look up, as in ancient times, as the initiates do, we can witness this cosmic intelligence working. The seasons, who is this supreme being that sustains and animates the universe? One of the principles is constancy. We know that every day, no matter what, the sun will rise at a certain time. We have the sunset. It has the constancy of this supreme being. It's one of the principles in practical life of successful people. They are constant, like the sun. We can trust the supreme being. And that sustains and animates it, as we explore in season 1 with towards the solar civilization, the power of the sun. Everything's come from the sun. We can rely. If we do not have solar energy, we will not be here. So this supreme being is the sun, is the circle. Astrologers have always used the circle with a dot in the center to represent the sun. And this feature can be seen in every sphere of nature, from the solar system to the atom. It's true, everything. This figure is the circular movement, atoms. Everything moves in cycles, in circles. We can also understand sacred geometry and relate that to numbers. And the number 10, according to the teaching of Master Omraam, is related to the circle and the dot. There's a strong correlation between numerology and sacred geometry. And one benefit is when I train your mind to understand numerology better. When I was preparing the talk about the yoga of nutrition from season 1, there's a quote in that book that really caught my attention about Master Omraam. Said the secrets of the universe are in numbers. And an initiate that wants to penetrate on the secrets, study numerology. If we interpret the significance of the number 10, we see that the 0 is the circle and the 1 is the dot in the center. The worst thing that can ever happen to a human being is to be separated from the 1, to lose touch with the spirit and be no more than a 0. We can trace most of the problems, or all of the problems of human beings, or losing the center. Any problem, divorce, emotional problems, the reason for that is that we lost the center. I remember during COVID-19, many people left the planet because they couldn't take all the pressure about depression, being alone. Some people lost their jobs. And based on this teaching now, we can understand that all those people that left the planet because, in essence, they lost the center. And we can see here how important it is to always maintain the center. My understanding of the teaching of Master Omraam is always going back to the center. Go back to the center in your life. I mean, we have all the tools in his teaching how to go back to the center. Because if you lose the center, you're in trouble. If you will really go analyze your life in the past, because you lost the center. Now let's start with the pentagram in detail. The importance of the pentagram. The pentagram, or five-pointed star, is the symbol of the complete human. We can see here on the image of the left, we have the pentagram, and we can see here the human being on top. And the famous image on the right side, the Vitruvian Man from Leonardo da Vinci, a great initiate. He knew about the sacred geometry in the human body, and he created this great image that has a lot of encoded messages. I was watching a documentary of 2 parts, 1 hour each, how a person decoded all the hidden messages in the Vitruvian Man. And it's absolutely amazing, all the teachings that Leonardo da Vinci left in this image for initiates to decode. A perfect mathematic, and all based on the human body. How we realize here how the perfection of the human body, and how we need to respect this human body. There are many secrets within us because we are part of the universe. And we need to start to look inside us, not to get distracted with the outside. Our role is to put this teaching of the perfect human into practice in our lives. Basic guidance for life. How can we incorporate this teaching in our daily lives? With the children, in our work, understanding this science to improve our lives. In Mount Shasta, where I live, I am a CASA volunteer. CASA means Court-Appointed Special Advocate. And I need to read all the cases from the children that I mentor, the families, because I mentor families also. And it's amazing the amount of problems that we see, and why is this happening? And it's very, the irony is that people forget their perfection. That is the reason we have so many problems. So it's our role and our duty to put this teaching of the perfect human into practice in our lives. And we have the guidance here to do it. Humans are living pentagrams. This is true on the physical level, but it's also true on the spiritual level. We are walking universes. And how can we embody this pentagram not only in our lives, but also at the spiritual level? Because everything is there, but it's dormant. We need to recognize it. How we can awaken our possibilities, that it's in our DNA. That is, in modern terms, the science of epigenetics. It tells us that our mission in life, our perfection is in our DNA. So everything is there. We need just to awaken that. Let kindness be the foundation of your life. Justice its measure. Wisdom is boundary. Love is the light, and truth its light. Here we can see the 5 essential virtues, according to the teaching of Master Omraam, of a human being. Justice, wisdom, truth, goodness, and love. And just watching this image, how they are embedded there, we can see they need to be in balance. That's one of the teachings here, that when we overemphasize one, we lose balance, or we can say that we lose the center. For example, if you are too loving without wisdom, people can take advantage of you. So you lose the center. And if you are too righteous, too much wisdom, or justice, I am too righteous, then you just start to get isolated and you get too judgmental. We can learn from this image the perfect balance. That's very important. We can take just one session to go over all these 5 virtues. But how is the combination in the right way can help us to have a better life? And how important is to maintain this balance, not to lose the balance here. Love, justice, wisdom, truth, goodness. In any situation in life, you can ask yourself this question: I am being just. Am I applying wisdom? Am I being truthful? I am being good. I am being loving. Imagine if you incorporate this into every aspect of your life. And then when you have a challenge, you can bring up this image into your mind. And it can remind you about this. That's one of the beauties of sacred geometry. It's a teaching device to remind you of who you are, because we are these virtues, but they are dormant. And our duty is to awaken them. And that's the advantage of having this tool, that is a reminder that's very, especially when you are facing challenging situations in your life, how can I apply this in my life quickly? You can bring this, you can analyze this, and as we explored at the beginning, Master mentioned at the beginning, by observing an image for a long time, and start to create something in your subconscious mind, because one of the advantages of sacred geometry is how we can reprogram our subconscious mind. In part 2, we will explore how to square the circle, another very important teaching, squaring the circle. We'll see you in part 2. Thank you for watching.
Thank you, Alex. This is all so interesting and much is new to me. Now, we are on for a quick station break. All books mentioned during this episode are available on www.prosveta.world. Make sure you visit that website, as well as www.omraam.world, which is the website of the Fraternal Forum. Again, for the books, it's www.prosveta.world, and for the forum, it is www.omraam.world. We will be back shortly.
Om Times TV. Imagine becoming a super influencer. Reinvent yourself, invest in your brand, and then manifest your success with a robust spheric approach. Om Times Media and Broadcasting offers a unique and multifaceted way to become the spiritual and conscious influencer you deserve to be by putting your message across our powerful platform with its proven record of integrity and excellence. Through our produced shows, Om Times offers the opportunity to become a social media TV personality, a radio show host, an Om Times magazine columnist, and a syndicated podcaster, all in one shot. By live streaming your show on Om Times TV and broadcasting it across the extensive Om Times radio and TV networks, you become more than a host. You become an ambassador and a force for positive change. Om Times. Open yourself to the possibilities.
If I could be you, and you could be me for just 1 hour. If we could find a way to get inside each other's minds. Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes. Well, before you abuse, criticize, and accuse. Walk a mile in my shoes.
Welcome back. I'm glad you're still here. In this second part, Alex will introduce us to fascinating new principles such as squaring the circle. We will learn the importance of achieving a balance between spirit and matter. And we will hear about many practical ways to incorporate the sacred geometry symbols into our lives. Back to you, Alex.
Thank you, Naika, and welcome back to part number 2 of this presentation, Sacred Geometry, the symbolic language of geometrical figures. And we will continue in this part 2 with squaring the circle, another very important sacred geometry that give us a real understanding of the balance between spirit and matter, which for initiates is always a topic of great discussion, because since ancient times, one of the challenges in initiatic science is to find the right balance between the spirit and matter. Here we can read, the message here is that we must be sure to infuse the spirit into absolutely everything we do. And here the key word is absolutely. Everything we do. Driving, changing the diapers, working. People normally tend to separate between the spirit and matter, that I am very spiritual. I am not concerned with material life, or I am superior. That's one extreme, that people that are very spiritual, they renounce life and they go to the extremes. The other extreme is that people that are over materialistic, they said that spirit doesn't exist, and they become overly ambitious and they disregard others in interactions, and they only see the material aspect of life. And if we study history, we can confirm that this is also an extreme. An extreme is going to cause you troubles. And we go up and down, trying to, we go from being too spiritual or being too material. And the art, because it's really an art, is to reach the perfect balance between the spirit and matter. And most of the, or we can say all the teaching of Master Omraam help us to achieve a balance. My understanding, he never suggested to renounce to life, to go to a cave or to escape society. Based on his teaching, he said that we need to be here. And because we all know it's not so easy, most of his teaching is to help us to be in the world. And one way to understand this is through the square and the circle. Anyone who does not know how to let the spirit work in them becomes like a dead stump. Well, we can realize that, and we can see people around us that they do not allow the spirit, which is always there, but it's dormant, or people block that with their behavior, because as we know now, based on previous programs, there's a cosmic intelligence that works through us. And some people, to their conditioning, to their passions, they block this cosmic intelligence, that another name is the spirit, our uniqueness. And they block it, they do not pay attention to that inner voice, and they become too materialistic, and we can see the results. People too greedy, falling into depression. What we saw in part one, people losing the center. We can see that in society. Here I live in Mount Shasta, and we have a big problem with homeless people. And you can see there are like a kind of a walking dead. You see the emptiness in their life, and it's very sad. And how people do not pay attention to the spiritual part. And that's one of the goals of this program, is to remind people that to listen to that spiritual voice. And because that's when we can really live our life to the fullest potential. Whereas those who do let the spirit work in them are cared for and tended every day. They are visited, fed, watered, and protected from parasites. This is a profound quote from Master Omraam, because we are not alone in this universe. There are cosmic forces that are guiding us. One of them we know is the guardian angel, or our spirits. When we include in our life the spirit, it's always there, but when we consciously do it, when we let go of our selfishness, we attract these positive energies that protect us, guide us in numerous ways, and we are protected. We know that there are parasites in the body, physical, but there are other kinds of parasites, invisible ones, that Master Omraam in his work also explained. There are invisible forces. There are good invisible forces, and there are bad invisible forces. And these are called parasites. They are invisible. But when we align ourselves to the spirit, when we combine that in our life, we are protected. And as we can see here on the figure, we can see a human being that is light, and imposed on the image of the human, we have the circle in the middle and the square. That's the importance that the human being gives to the spirit in absolutely everything in life. Taking the trash out, going to the coffee shop, how do you treat the cashier? Especially when they not treat you well, how do you react? And that's the real test. Square in the circle. Spirit is the most tenacious and faithful, but is always in motion. The cyclic, periodic movement of the spirit is symbolized by the circle. Well, as we mentioned in part one, it's always in motion. The planets are always in motion, and is cyclic. Is a periodic movement. The stars, the constellations, the moon, the phases of the moon, there's always in movement. We cannot stop the movement because it starts to decay. And even though we are doing quiet meditation or meditation in silence, we are not moving, but our body is constantly moving, our heart is beating, is pumping flow, is pumping blood to our bodies. So it's always, if we really put attention to the internal processes, there's always movement. So we cannot stop the movement. And that representation of the spirit is always in motion. Matter is motionless and coagulated and is represented by the square. We can see that although there is consciousness in a stone, it's matter, it doesn't move. And it's very, in the case of a rock, it's coagulated energy. Atoms that are really, really, for their composition, is very solid matter. The whole question is how to bring together the circle and the square. And during history, there are many, many, many theories or many practices how to combine the spirit and matter in the most efficient way, especially when we go into very subtle aspects of mind. I mean, it's easy to see with the eyes at a physical level. We can easily discern people that are very balanced, very neutral, that are poised, center. That's easy to identify and to see. And when somebody is angry or is yelling, well, we know that person, as we saw in part one, that person lost the center or is very agitated. And when we go deeper in this practice, in this teaching of initiatic science, is how we balance also the subtle elements of our nature. As we saw in part one, the 6 bodies: the monadic body, the buddhic body, the astral body. And for thousands of years, initiates has left instructions how to balance them. For example, dream practice. How do you balance spirit and matter when you go to sleep? We can assume that it's only most of the time is spirit because the body doesn't move, right? You are sleeping, but the mind is active. But it still does matter, but it's very subtle. So as we saw in part one, when you start to contemplate these symbols, you start to uncover many processes in the mind. And that's the whole question: how to bring together the circle and the square, how to combine them. And for example, if you want to start a relationship, it's very important, if you want to start a new relationship, especially an intimate one, that you enter with the matter and spirit very imbalanced, very balanced. That is the reason, in my experience and in my opinion, people get into troubles, because especially we can say that when people get into relationships, they usually put attention to matter, physical attraction, the emotion, the square. They neglect the spirit, the circle. And we can see now how people get into troubles. They go from one relationship to the other because they emphasize matter. Another very common aspect of life in finances, when you want to start a new business, we normally relate business with the material aspect of life, but what about the spirit? Especially in business, many of the challenges that we have in society is because businesses do not have integrity in their processes. And that is the reason we have so many challenges. So if I want to start a business, how I am bringing the spirit to that business. That's what is called the mission of that business. When you create the mission of that business, you can bring this symbol to your mind when you are writing down the mission of that business. What is my mission statement? Am I combining the spirit and matter in a balanced way? It is within the circle spirit that matter, the square, can flower and bear fruit at each return of the spirit. Here we can see on this figure how the circle is encircling the square. That's another representation. There's a balance that you do not allow the material aspect of life to control you. This is one interpretation. That at all times, spirit is in charge. It's not the other way around. That's the reason we have many problems in society, because there's a lack of balance. So when here we can see that there's a perfect symmetry between the square and the circle, that one is not overemphasized over the other. There's a perfect balance between the two, and that's what we want in life, to flow. And that's what causes flow. When a tree that has been vivified by the spirit bears fruit, it has solved the problem of squaring the circle. Well, we all know that trees are matter at the outer level, and they are affected by the seasons. And they flourish, they die. But when they bear fruit, we can see that there's a perfect combination of spirit and matter. There's a balance. And it's the same with the fruit. If the fruit is not ripe and you eat it, you get sick, or it's too sour. But we all know a perfect fruit has a perfect flavor, perfect taste. That's another combination. That when there's a balance between the square and the circle, there's a balance between spirit and matter. We can agree that when a tree bears fruit, it's spirit infusing matter, and that's an example for our life. That when we include in everything in our life the spirit in everything, we can create great things as the trees: family, a business, friendship, an organization, because there's a balance. If you destroy the physical body, your subtle bodies, etheric, astral, mental, causal, buddhic, and atmic, continue to exist. Even if you destroy the house, the square, the circle remains indestructible. Well, there's a lot of guidance on this teaching from Master Omraam, that we all know that the spirit is indestructible, is not subject to aging, or is not influenced by your sex. And that's the important part. The square is the vehicle for the spirit, it is the house of the spirit. We know that this spirit will never die. But while we are embodied in this dimension, we want to have a perfect balance between the two. And always, and this is a very important reminder, that there's something that will survive. So, and Master Omraam goes deeper in this teaching in other books, because everything that we're doing here, every action, we will be confronted with that action when we have our own transition. And that's what I found personally, how important is this guidance about square in the circle. Because the more we include in everything in our lives the spirit, we'll have a better life and we will have less problems, or what is called, we will not be subject to these external forces, or what we uh, learn about the parasites. They will not control our lives. So it's always, I found this really important to keep this in mind about the circle. It's another thing about sacred geometry, understanding that the circle will survive, which is your true nature. If you remember on part one, Master Omraam mentioned that when you observe something, it starts to create a pattern in the subconscious mind. And these are the images from Dr. Masaru Emoto about water. When water is exposed to kind words or beautiful music, it creates these shapes. And if you notice the perfection and of these shapes, the beauty, the harmony, this is another combination of, we can see matter combined with the spirit, the beauty, the perfection. That's another example. And why I'm showing this, because as we all know, 70% of our composition is water, the brain, human body. So we want this harmony in our lives. We want to express this perfection in our lives. When we say thank you, when we say thank you to somebody and we are sincere, we're creating this perfect geometry in our lives. But when we say thank you and we do not mean that, it's just without any feeling or without any sincerity, well, we're not combining or having the perfect balance between the square and the circle. Some of these shapes, they were exposed to music of Mozart or Vivaldi, or thank you, I love you, or peace, and they created these beautiful shapes. That's what we want in our lives, to have this perfect geometry. And then that's how we can influence others. We can be an example to others. And keep in mind this, how many sides are here? No, 6 sides, six crystals in each figure. It has the center, again, the center, and we have 6 sides. In no matter the type of message or music, we always have 6. And if we go back to this image, one of the most important teaching, well, the most important teaching of Master Omraam, the 6 bodies. How many bodies? 6. And we can see the relationship here, the perfection again, the circle, and how we can now, by observing this, we can be more aware of the importance of sacred geometry to understand these profound images, what they are telling us. How we always want in everything that we're doing in life, as we learned at the beginning, is to always infuse in absolutely everything we do the 6 bodies. In everything you do, ask yourself, am I including the 6 bodies in this decision in my life, in this new partnership, with my children, at work, in investing, in this business? Not only that, how can we incorporate these sacred geometries into our lives, into our bodies? Well, Master Omraam taught how can we can bring the symbols to life. And you can find this on YouTube. There are these books. It's the same book, but one has a DVD. If you want to understand the importance of bringing these symbols to your life, you can study this material and have a better understanding of the importance of making this alive in your life, not only intellectually, but with your body. And this set of exercises together, they last for only 8 minutes. And the beauty of this exercise is that any person can do this, no matter your age. They are very simple, but they are very profound. And again, you can find it on YouTube, or I suggest to buy the books, especially the book with the DVD, because Master Omraam explains the benefit. There are some affirmations, and he goes into detail about the benefits of the movement and why it's important to embody this. I want to share this quote. It is this ability to access different realms that makes humans superior beings. This is from the book Alchemy, Astrology, Magic, and Kabbalah. Sacred geometry helps us to access these different realms. So I invite you to explore this teaching, apply this into your life, and see the results. How can you improve your life and the life of your loved ones and society by applying these principles? Thank you for watching this program, and I hope to see you in season number 3. Have a great day.
That was so revealing, Alex. Thank you so much for this expose on sacred geometry. Now, I, for one, have a much better understanding of the importance of sacred geometry to improve our lives and to understand and communicate with nature and the macrocosm. Always remembering to return to the center, using sacred geometry principles is such an invaluable tool to live a harmonious and balanced life. If you have enjoyed this episode, stay tuned for the next episode on December 23rd. It is titled A Mystical Christmas and will be presented by Carmen Froment. In addition, watch out for the following episodes in 2025. On January 6th, the 4 Sacred Sciences will be presented by Richard Kamenji, and on January 20th, Anatole will return with another 7 interviews from people from all over the world who practice the teaching of Omraam Mikhaël Aïvanhov. See you in 2 weeks. Stay safe and stay connected.